order. And as there is no flag, I'll ask.
We actually have a flag. Somebody identify a flag right there.
We have a flag. It is at the end of the table on the east end.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. And if you will please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'll call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Have a seat. We have some parameters as far as the time is concerned that we need to work within, so I hope you'll excuse my starting so quickly and interrupting your social time, but it is imperative that we get things wrapped up on time for the convenience of other people who need to use this room. We have our guest today. And okay, yes, he is. And it is Mr. Bill Hanna from RDA. Welcome, sir. And we would like for you to kick the process off this morning. The floor is yours. And welcome again.
Thank you all for having me. Ty, appreciate the time. And members, it's an honor and privilege to be in front of you today. I have with me Sherry Ziller, our Chief Operating Officer, Bill Sheldrake, who is in policy analytics but does a lot of work for us and worked heavily on the comprehensive strategic plan, and of course Dave Wellman, who does our communication. It's a good day for us to be here to talk to you, especially as the NPO and the folks that will be instrumental in helping accomplish a lot of what we've outlined here. Let me start by saying that a lot of the thoughts in here are just a continuation of what we've been broadcasting for the last several years, and it really is as a result of the General Assembly charging us with the responsibility to establish a new strategic plan at the time that we had the renewal of the RDA in 2015, and it's largely related to what we were able to accomplish all together as a team in establishing funds for the Westlake corridor expansion. So this is the comprehensive strategic plan as we go forward, and again, I'm excited to hopefully show you what's in it. So, I'm a techno dinosaur, believe it or not, and so you have to bear with me because I tend to mess these things up a little bit. So, really what we're talking about is making an economic argument for connectivity with Chicago. We have some project descriptions in there. A lot of it is transit-oriented development and transit connectivity. We'll talk about economic impacts and the returns on investment. A lot of you have seen these slides before, and I'll go very quickly. I know we're short on time, and I know that you're an educated audience with respect to this topic too. So if you need to stop me, please do that, but I'll just continue here very briefly. So in these areas here on the Illinois side, which is what you see the blue, the blue lines are the rail lines there. They have double-digit, and of all those rail lines, they're all double-tracked virtually or triple-tracked in many cases. What we have right now is just a single South Shore line, which Nicky does a great job of operating. There's no doubt about it, but they're certainly constrained. And so when we talk about double-tracking as we go forward, we're talking about time to market capacity, and then the Westlake corridor, which would obviously go south into Lake County. So this is the important stuff that we found during the process of studying this and preparing for the plan. And some of these stats are pretty compelling. We've talked about a need to reestablish a very vibrant middle class, have population growth take hold again in Northwest Indiana, and really kind of understand what our place is in the market and what is happening to adjacent communities or peer communities on the Illinois side. And so we've talked a lot about what's happened in Lake County, especially since 1970. We've had a population loss of about 9%. The population gain since 1970 in the two-county area of Porter and Lake County has been about 5% overall. Actually 4%. And that's because of the gain in Porter County. Again, we had a loss in Lake County. Look at what's happened in the suburban areas of Chicago that are approximately the same distance or time to market. We've had a 226% increase in population since 1970. Again, 4 on our side, 226 on their side. You start to see these things come together and talk about connectivity. Why is that? there's been about a 4 or 5% loss in Cook County in that same time period. So some of that bleed off from Cook County has resulted in a 226% increase, plus just general market growth in Chicago. We're not really at the table, is what this is telling us. We're not in the game at the same level, although we have many of the same features and the same distance to that market. I wish you could see this a little bit more closely. We'll make sure that you have the materials as well, but I really like this part of what we were looking at too. Think of all these things overlaying. Proximity to market, connectivity investment, population growth comparisons, and then look at the income spread. And so what you'll see here, you see the rail and all that kind of stuff. Wherever it's green, especially the dark green, is going to be your higher income level areas. And most of that's concentrated, as we know, in the north and west suburbs here, places like Wheaton and Naperville, so on and so forth. Down here, we have a bit of a transportation desert in our 2 county area, and the incomes also follow. So we have some of the lower incomes in the market. These rings represent 20 miles and 40 miles, by the way. So if you look at this kind of a green pocket over here, which you can't see, that's Valparaiso, if that gives you any kind of an idea. So if you're looking at, Palatine, Valparaiso, kind of these outer edge areas, still same kind of distance to market, and I think that's something we don't think about a whole lot or have not done historically. Before I get there, along with this, let's think about too, what does the higher income bracket represent beyond just dollars and cents in the economy? It also represents talent pools. So when you talk about chicken egg economic development, why are we not getting the corporate headquarters? So of the jobs that we do get, which are very limited compared to these areas, even though we have a better tax climate and all these kind of things, there's still barriers to being over here. Probably transportation connectivity is among the largest for the talented work pool. So while we have very many talented people, we don't have the concentration that they have in these areas. And so what does that do for a place like Valpo or Chesterton or Hammond or Munster? You're going to get less of the bleed off from Cook County that we talked about before. You're not going to get the corporate headquarters because we don't have the employment base to really make the case to be able to have that investment come, even if you give the property away. Still, the labor force availability is a huge factor in what the decision making for the more knowledge-based employers are looking at. So when we look at, we recognize there's so many areas to look at, there's so many assets. We've done a lot together on the Lakeshore. We have a lot of plans out there. We're not by any means saying that none of those are important. They all have to be happening. Connectivity is not enough by itself. Quality of place has to be a part of this. I would tell you one of the exciting things about this too is, and this is not a soft piece, this is an important piece, the alignment around these project areas politically, in terms of leadership, is probably the strongest we've ever seen, at least in recent memory. The talent pool of town managers, city managers, mayors, elected officials at the state level is probably the strongest we've ever had. And I can point to many examples to prove that out. If you look at a place like Hammond, look at the quality of place features that have been developed since Mayor Tom's been there. Look at what's happened in Whiting. Look at Valparaiso. Look at what's going on in Chesterton, Porter, Crown Point. I mean, you name it across the board. It really is sort of a renaissance period for us. And so what we're saying with these projects that I'm going to talk to you about briefly is these will put those other improvements on a fast track for real estate development and population growth. That's the case that we're really trying to make. They're not independent of anything. This is just taking the spine and one of the critical pieces and saying, let's do this as best we can, and let's maximize what's already going on. And it all works together very well. We also, let me point out the Chairman of Transportation for the houses here, Mr. Soliday. That's an important feature too. There's a window with all of this stuff. We have the right leaders at the right time, in the right positions, to help make these things happen. And so you can't lose that opportunity. So the Westlake Corridor, everybody I think in this room is familiar with it. And really the important features that are happening right now is recently Hammond came on board with a contribution that was really strategically important in a lot of ways. It causes us the ability to have a gateway station, which means that in this area right here, instead of having the line the way it was originally designed come over into Hegwish, we keep Indiana taxpayer money on this side in the capital project. That's an important thing. Probably more important is the fact that in Hammond, you'll be able to get anywhere in the system. There will be a transfer area there, like a metro center type arrangement, and you'll be able to get north, south, east, or west up into Chicago and as far as South Bend from that center location. We have areas in South Hammond. You've got Munster, and then the dire areas that are being marked in the DEIS for NICTY, which is a preliminary sort of process on Westlake for station house location. Now, the station areas are not enough. We've had train stations in the past, and that's where working with a group like yours is going to become fundamental to how successful this is or is not. And that's the transportation-oriented development facets of it. And I tell people out in public, they say, well, what is TOD or who is Todd anyway? And he's a great guy, but it's what all it really is anchored development, just like any other kind of thing that you anchor to. Well, in this case, it's going to be transportation. And you've probably all seen things like this in Chicago or DC Metro, New Jersey and New York, that kind of thing. You're talking about high-density housing in some cases, some commercial in other cases, a mix of both in some, redeveloped parking areas, and walkable cities type concepts designed to have people inhabit those areas so that you get more than just someone coming in, parking, and leaving. You're getting the transactional economic development that occurs in retail areas of all type. And the exciting thing is the value is largely set by the end destination. So when you talk about the value of this, we're talking about the end destination being the third largest economy in the country. So that's very powerful. Westlake is moving along. The funds are in place now. Again, the Hammond was a big piece recently in sort of completing the loop. And we're working with communities on TOD plans with FAR and Associates for the federal grant right now. NERC is at the table with us on that, helping as well. And we'll need a lot more help as we move forward. The double tracking is the other project that we're pursuing, and that one is not completely funded at this point. We're doing preliminary engineering with NICTY at this time with a company called HDR that you're probably familiar with, and we're looking for solutions on that currently. What's kind of neat about this plan, and this can kind of sum it up a little bit with this picture. Our goal is, and I think everybody in this room, so we've had development in these areas over the years, in the kind of the outer suburban type communities that we have in Lake and Porter County and Fort. By doing improvements on this line, which really is about speeding up time to market, we have the ability for the first time to do a truly multi-jurisdictional regional project that is aimed, that's one of its goals is aimed at driving redevelopment into the industrial corridor. So if you do them at the same time, you get less of, this will be easier to develop theoretically because it has strong demographics and it has newer infrastructure. Up here we have infrastructure challenges, we're all familiar with it, utility corridors, other things like that. We also have some of the greatest assets you hope to come by, including Lake Michigan. So when you talk about speeding up time to market, the trends in urban redevelopment, the fact that you're trying to pursue this in somewhat the same time frame as this, you now open up to a brand new market concept and idea, which is international and national level investors, which are already contacting us, saying, wow, this is a collaborative project, it's a big project, it's not 8 little stations by themselves. You're talking about an entire system upgrade and a whole move toward permanent connectivity strategies. And you have capital in place to do it, you're marching forward, and it looks more certain. And so the more we can work with the communities to have uniformity across the 8 stations that would be largely affected, the more marketable this is going to be, the more attractive it's going to be for private money to come into Northwest Indiana. And we're projecting about $2.3 billion in new investment over that 8-station area. And think about places like Miller. That will be a hot, trendy area in Chicago. And it looks very much like other areas that have been that way, like Bronzeville, Wicker Park, Bucktown, Hyde Park area, Hammond. Think about that. East Chicago, the things that are happening in East Chicago and North Harbor, and the fact that it's connected by the train. And then you shorten the time to market in those areas. So you're doing community redevelopment around TOD. It's more uniform. It's projected to the market. It's done in somewhat, the same time frame. All 8 stations are being looked at. You've got improvements on the existing line going, and a brand new train line. It's a big deal, And so here's what the times look like with double tracking in terms of decreases. So initially, South Bend drops from 2:23 to about 1:45. It could get down as low as an hour and a half. Michigan City, which is a really great story there as far as redevelopment happening at the same time as this, you're talking about just roughly over an hour, 60-some minutes to Chicago. Think about that Lakeshore community, what's happening there in a 60-minute commute on rail. Dune Park drops to less than an hour at 52. It's at 122 right now. Hammond goes from 42 to 28. East Chicago goes from 47 to 31. You're half hour to East Chicago from not just the loop, center of the loop, job central. As many jobs in that market as in the entire state of Indiana, right there. Portage goes from 115 to 47. Miller has a huge drop from 107 to 39, so less than 40. So can you imagine, let's look at Miller again, because I think it's easy to see. You got a nice little business district there. We're doing streetscaping, all of the facade grant type of work going on. There's other programming to entice business into that area. 12 and 20 being realigned, which we're going to be working on very quickly. You've got a new station house, and you have a real estate market out there saying we have new offerings at 40-minute commute to the loop. That's pretty powerful. So we're going to be going through the planning process with everybody here. Really critical to work with the communities. A lot of the station area designs are being done around the DEIS. And they're very basic at this point. You're just kind of looking at graduated zoning and other things that NERC has been instrumental in as well. And trying to come up with a roadmap for developers to look at that the community says, this is what we want. And this is what we're going to commit to and project, and in exchange for you investing in us. This, just to give you kind of a visual, this is the Hammond Gateway Station, kind of an early mock-up. I know everybody here's a fan of roundabouts. Of course, I got to have one in there. You have seen this. A lot of the public hasn't seen a concept like this, but this gives you an idea of, parking structures, maybe the residential with the mixed-use commercial in it, the kind of thing that you see that's happening in Chicago right next door. Very similar type building stock with Hammond. The other effect that you really don't see in here that we're all pretty much aware of is what happens to the other areas outside of the TOD. Well, you see an uptick in real estate values in the adjacent areas that aren't necessarily directly related to TOD still. So there's a ripple effect through the community in terms of that. You see a lot of times in an area like this, the old housing stock becomes something people really start to desire and want to fix up. And so the idea is to have that economic shot in the arm, but also, maintain the historic integrity and the character of the adjacent areas too. And growth can help all of that, so long as we're working together and the cities and the towns are planning well and embracing the concepts. So construction impact, Bill, would you like to cover some of the ROI first? And that's Bill Schiller. He did the numbers on the inside. I know we're going to run out of time here real quick, but this is important. I want to talk about the construction impacts, jobs, and the return on investment.
Try to be extremely brief. What we did, the General Assembly said back in 2015 that RDA needed to go out, put together an update to the comprehensive strategic plan focused around connectivity and rail and TOD, and show that there would be a 2x, 2 times return on investment, and if we could do that, they would allow us to have $180 million or $6 million a year over 30 years, and they did start that appropriation. So one of the things we did was we looked at what would the construction impacts be focused within this region. And you can see about $710 million over a few-year period as the construction for Westlake and double tracking happens. The station areas, American Structure Point, as Bill talked about, did kind of first-level TOD planning around these station areas. and came up with projections. In this case, for each of these 8 station areas, there's a 20-year build-out. And the General Assembly asked us to show that return on investment after 20 years, or in the 20th year. As Bill said, these plans sum up to about $2.3 billion in year 20. Then we went ahead and did the modeling, and what it looks like is it adds jobs, as you might guess, over that period. When you do that station area, residential and commercial, you're going to have permanent jobs located or in those station areas, serving those station areas. About 1,000 annual jobs are supported, meaning 1,000 each year during the construction period, and about 2,500 ongoing jobs. Bill talked about the impact on the attempt to build the middle class and increase the population throughout Northwest Indiana. As we model this, because you are bringing in more jobs, because you're bringing in more investment, because you're increasing connectivity with Chicago and the trade in jobs across the region, you bring in people, and the model shows about an additional 11,000 people above the baseline over this period. The essential economic impact of what's happening here is that the connectivity, increased connectivity, the shorter time commutes, make Northwest Indiana a more attractive place for private sector investment. And that's exactly what's happening here. And what this model shows is that we are shifting some private sector investment out of the Chicago region across the Illinois border and into Northwest Indiana. Again, a delta on the baseline. Now, lest you think that Illinois will be substantially hurt by that, that small decrease in shift from Illinois to Indiana is 0.07% of the normal investment in Cook County. So not a large impact. As you might guess, as you begin to do this investment in Northwest Indiana, there are property tax impacts. And so we went ahead and modeled the property tax changes, and what you see is almost $500 million of additional property tax revenue is created by these investments, and we've broken it down. And when you look at the report, you'll see we've got it by community and by station. Finally, these investments create a fiscal impact for the state of Indiana as well. So both sales tax and individual income taxes are boosted by this kind of economic activity, and about $502 million. That's about a little over $300 million in sales tax and almost $200 million in individual income taxes is generated by that economic activity around the stations. And so the answer is, for the state, does this create, for the state of Indiana, a 2x return on investment? Well, it creates about a 4.5x return on investment in the 20th year in the way the state asks us to measure this. And if we can find the funding for double tracking, it also, the double tracking adds to that economic activity, and it produces about a 4.2x return on investment. So our answer to the state, and Bill and I have already had some presentations with folks in Indianapolis, so I think the state is encouraged by those numbers and feels that there is some credibility there. And so I'll turn it back to Bill, but we're very pleased with these kinds of positive results that we see from this planning.
Thank you, Bill. I'll just close with this and answer any questions that you might have, to the extent that I can. This is our vision statement, and it's a bold one, but I think it's the right one. And that's that Northwest Indiana will be the first choice in suburban Chicago for new and current residents. I think that's important. Current residents do. business and access to jobs. With diverse opportunities in all areas, Northwest Indiana will be the leading area for economic growth in Indiana. We will be the best example in the nation for balancing growth with preservation, exciting and trendy urban and lakefront communities with tranquil rural areas. Northwest Indiana will be the best example of what Hooters can be when given a global opportunity. There's a lot in there to think about and a lot for you to help us with, and we're going to need that help very much. We do have a desire to balance the tranquil rural with the exciting new Renaissance urban areas, our beautiful parklands with new development. And we can do this, and that's the advantage that I tell you we have over the suburban areas. We don't have to just sprawl and accept. We're driving this train together, literally, no pun intended. Mike Nolan's driving the train, but we're pushing it. And again, you know, I can't tell you enough how grateful I am to be working with you all on this and having the privilege of knowing you all and working with you all individually and then collectively. I'm telling you, I can't imagine a more collectively talented group than the one we have right now. And we can't tell ourselves that's going to happen again. Historically, say probably won't. So now's the time to continue to push forward. We have turned the corner. We're going to be in front of the Budget Committee on September 23rd testifying about Westlake progress. We feel good about getting a nod to go forward with the financing of that project. Things are going well there. But the heavy lift is going to be around this TOD concept, community development, coordination, continue the team effort. So anything you can do to help us with that and to guide us. And I often tell people right now, we're past the point of disagreeing about where we're going. How we're getting there is a valid conversation. So those disagreements you hear are more than just nuances. No one's trying to stop things anymore. I think we're all saying, let's move forward together. But we need to pay attention to the things that can help make these projects better for people who live here also. So I'm excited about that. And then finally, just to simply put this idea into a real simple context, one that I can digest for myself, and it kind of hit me one day. I grew up as a steel worker's son. My dad was at Bethlehem for 35 years. And he told me, it's one of those weird moments that I think he probably thought I wasn't paying attention to, but we were sitting in Jimmy's Cafe in Valpo, and he told me, you gotta understand something. I think it was like 12, you know, and had no desire to work on anything to do with the economy, by the way. So he said, you know, for every steel job, there's 7 jobs supported by it. And so, you know, Nick and Rhea that work in there, my dad was proud of that, you know, because he was part of the driver. Well, that's not true anymore. There's not 7 jobs for every mill job. And although they're very powerful and we need to support current industry, we no longer can look at that as the anchor driver. And all I'm simply saying here is, with every job that pays 40% more in Chicago, with the 39% of the total workforce population in DuPage County going to work in Cook County every day, while we only send 6.2% from Porter County, there's some low-hanging fruit there to have ratios like that again with high-paying jobs that support several other jobs in the economy today. So that's important to know because you never have to set a foot on that train to see a benefit. Thank you for your time, and if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hanna. We certainly appreciate it and appreciate working with you and your staff.
Thank you,
Any way we can. We appreciate you being here. If there are any brief questions, as we are within certain time parameters.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hanna, what role will the federal government play in terms of, in the process of accessing, funding for the project, or any update to that effect?
Yeah, thank you. I guess I skipped over that, so thank you for the question. All these programs, so Westlake falls into what's called the New Starts program. That's a 50-50 match. That's where it was critical for us to have the state support on Westlake and all of the 15 or 16 communities now that have signed up to help fill the gap. And so, Michael, thank you for everything you've done in that effort.
Congressman really is the author.
He's done a ton of heavy work, seen stuff on this, so and helping figure out how this works. So thank you. That was huge. So we're matched up there and ready to move forward. Double tracking is called core capacity, which is just expansion programs for existing, and it's also a 50-50 match. To go to Michigan City would be about $210 million, so about half of that would come from the federal government. It's about half of that to just go to the border of LaPorte County. So if that gives you an idea of the scale of that. And relative to other rail projects, that's very cheap because they own the right of way. And there's less environmental issues than you might encounter if you did a new start. So Westlake is a more complicated project with double tracking, and that's why, even though double tracking is behind Westlake, they virtually are happening in roughly the same time period. Possibly, if we're able to figure out how to get to the deficit on double track convention.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Mr. Allen.
Mr. Chairman, would it be timely to do a resolution of support? And I guess is there consensus to support this program?
If we could defer an answer to Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
I think anything you can do, we had the opportunity between several of us to take the senior leadership of the House on a little aerial tour of Northwest Indiana. And having talked with them since, their viewpoint of us has changed so significantly out of that ride. It's no secret that they generally, the rest of the state sees us as a friend of mine introduced me, welcome to the Balkans, that we fight with each other, we can't agree on anything, and we're a bunch of industrial areas. And as we showed them the route for double tracking, we showed them the communities and so forth, both the chairman of Ways and Means and the speaker said, what a different view we have of your region and what tremendous potential it has. So we are moving ahead we are on a roll. We had probably more communities jump on board than anywhere else in the state, passing wheel taxes to show they were willing to do their part improving their infrastructure. So the view of us is changing. So the more we can say that we can work together, that we have a vision for the future, and we can capitalize on being next to that economy, the better we are. So I would say, yes, a resolution probably is helpful at this time, but if we can avoid public disagreements that distract from that vision we're building downstate, I am probably as encouraged as I've been in my 10 years of public service. So the more we can work together, one of the things that Bill and I have talked about, we need to agree on what Marquette Plan really means and what our commitment to that is as we move forward with our vision. So anything we can do to encourage that momentum we have is good for all of us.
The Chair would welcome a resolution of support if one is made. Anyone willing to make a
I'll make
motion?
a motion to support the efforts of the RDA as far as the double tracking and Westlake corridor for the benefits that they've shown, being 4 times what the cost are over a 20-year period.
As a resolution has been made, motion has been made, is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We have a resolution of support.
Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. We look forward to working with you on this great project.
We as well. As we do have a quorum, we can proceed with the approval of the minutes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? If so, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. So there's a motion to approve, and I hear a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the approval of the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Report of the chair. Very briefly, want to give a thank you to all those who are putting in the extra time and effort to make the new paradigms of the structure of NERC work. All the new committee ideas and structures are, it's a learning curve that we're in right now. and we are in a process of refining, and we look forward to working in collegiality with everyone involved and in good faith, and we're even the 10 Commandments took 2 times. So we'll get it, and thank you for everybody who is working on that. We appreciate that. And that concludes my report. Mr. Warren.
Thank you. Very, very quickly, so we can move on to other actions. I just want to thank the support that we've received from the senators. Thank you, Rebecca and Justin, for both senators from Indiana signed a joint letter with both senators from Illinois regarding this notice of proposed rulemaking that might have resulted in a possible merger with CMAP, our partner to the west. And we received lots of support. Congressman Spassky did something jointly with Congressman Lipinski. Thank you, Representative Soliday, for your letter also. And I think one of the clincher letters that came in by the end of the comment period was when the House, U.S. House Transportation Infrastructure Committee signed a joint letter saying this is not at all what they intended by the FAST Act and overreaches their the intent. And so I don't know what will happen yet, but that period is closed, and just given the outpouring from across this country against that proposed rule, I'd be extremely surprised if it moved forward at this point. So I just wanted to give a quick thanks for everyone's help in trying to convey that message. And that's all I have.
I would concur with your comments on that, and we, as a body, sent a letter directly from NERC, from the chair, objecting to the process that had been taking place and the dangers that were inherent in proceeding with that. So NERC did respond as a body, and I know several municipalities have responded as a body in objection to the shortened hearing period, input period, and also the concept itself. So we appreciate your comments and staying on top of that and coordinating that series of objections to what was going to effectively, in my opinion, destroy the NERC organization. That's an opinion statement. Finance and personnel. Please, Mrs. Knoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finance and personnel met this morning, and we have a few items to go over. But first of all, I would like to make mention that the annual financial report for the year ending December 2015 is complete. A copy will be sent out to you next week. And I want to make a note, there were no audit comments or findings. Congratulations to Angie Hayes and her staff. Okay, so items on hand, turn to page, if you'd like to follow along, page 9, we have a procurement recommendation. And this is just for the air quality, public knowledge, and precipitation survey, asking for RFPs. And I'd like to make a motion that the executive board approve this.
Second. A motion and a second to approve the procurement recommendation. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The procurement recommendation is accepted.
Okay, and then on page 26, these are proposed budget amendments. These are for additional funds, and they are to add new funds for the I-65 Route 30 Safety Planning Study, and also Amendment 7 was to add new funds for the trail study. And I'd like to make a motion that the executive committee approve these.
Have a motion and a second to approve the budget amendments as contained on 2627. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Okay, next item is Amendment 8, proposed budget amendment transfers between categories. And this would be going from communication to contractual. And I make a motion this be approved by the committee.
Question, is that the 6530 planning study?
No, these are promotional expenses.
Okay.
Amendment A.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approved.
Okay, the next item is the I-65 Route 30 Planning Study Agreement on page 10.
28.
28.
It went to, my apologies. Okay, well, this is the basic agreement. Northwest Indiana, the planning study, the safety planning project, and everything is the basic agreement. And that, okay, and I make a motion that this be agreed.
And clarify again, this is the 6530 agreement.
Yes, it is.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion.
Jim Mose. I'll second.
I'm sorry, I'll entertain a second.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion, any clarification? Yes.
Not to delay it, I just want to point out it's significant that we're meeting actually in the location of the study. We're literally talking about right outside our doors here, and it's a very, very, very important project.
I would concur. Studies.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say thank you for consideration of this. This is something that the town of Maryville and city of Holbrook very much needs as this continued growth along the Route 30 continues, and appreciate the consideration.
I would concur with your comments on that. This morning's travel.
Hopefully this is timely enough for the reconstruction, so we get on the grounds.
So it's very timely.
So discussion completed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And the next item is the Indiana Trail Study Agreement, and I believe that, and it says 28. 44. So, this was this also was discussed and approved by the Personnel and Finance Committee, so I make a motion that the committee approve this.
And is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I should disclose that I am occasionally an adjunct instructor for Indiana University, and that technically puts me under the aegis of this. That's just disclosing. I don't think there's a conflict, but I'm sharing it.
Do you wish to abstain?
I may abstain.
We have a motion and a second and discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And with the chair's permission, I abstain with the chair's permission that that can be recorded.
It will be. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, ma'am. Environmental Management Policy Committee, Mr. Benson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fund. The Environmental Management Policy Committee met, and we have a resolution that was recommended for this body to, approve this morning, and it's on page 60 of your packet, and it's 16-28. It's in support of the 2016 Septic Smart Week. I have a frog in my throat. Excuse me. We're asking for your support this morning. Every year in September, this time, the EPA and the state, DNR, and IDEM work together to have this be a Septic Awareness Week. The resolution reads, whereas throughout Northwest Indiana, many communities rely on septic systems or on-site wastewater treatment and disposal systems to dispose of wastewater from their homes and businesses, and whereas septic systems can fail or malfunction, polluting our lands and waterways, causing public health hazards and natural resource degradation, and whereas educating home and business septic system owners about the need for periodic inspection, maintenance, and proper daily use can result in the highest possible standard of safe, sanitary, and environmentally sound on-site wastewater service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission hereby proclaims September 19th through 23rd, 2016 to be Septic Smart Week in Northwest Indiana, and encourage all residents and businesses to join in this observance. Duly adopted by the Northwest Indiana Regional Planning Commission this 15th day of September 2016. And I would move that we adopt this resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on 1628. Discussion.
Yes, this septic awareness week comes next week, but it should be every day for the homeowners who have septic systems. It affects our water quality immensely.
We concur with that, and as our council passed this resolution on Monday night at the council meeting, there was some discussion about the necessity until we pointed out that there are 70-plus systems within our town that are on septic.
As a lot of people aren't aware of the number of municipalities that still have septic
No idea.
systems.
They have no idea. So, any other comments? Yes, sir.
I would like to, when this passes, I'd like to get a copy with your signature and Jeff's signature on it, and I'm going to put it on Facebook because we have some areas that we're trying to annex, and I'd like them to know how important it is to come to the town instead of using septic systems.
Given the fact that we are making the assumption it'll approve, that sounds like a good idea. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. We have other grant news, some that I will mention, and I'd like to defer to Kathy in just a second, but the NERC received the Lair grant feasibility study for the Deep River Dam, and that's very exciting news. We've been trying to get a feasibility study in one way or another for a long time, and NERC, like they piloted the Deep River Watershed Management Plan, they're now piloting this Lair grant for a feasibility study, so it's very exciting news. And Kathy, you have some other grant news that you received this morning?
So I just received this morning. We had applied to the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative U.S. Forest Service grant, and I just received today that we received both grants. So we will have $200,000 for municipal trees for emerald ash borer recovery, and another $100,000 for municipal trees for stormwater and water quality improvements. So we'll be establishing basically a kind of a grant program for municipalities to apply to us to receive the trees. So
Congratulations. No one that will be applying to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That concludes my report.
All right. That concludes your report, so we'll move on to the Technical Planning Committee.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Good morning, and good morning to my colleagues and friends here. You have in your packet the minutes of the July 12th meeting of 2016, and I'll let you review those at your leisure. I'm going to report about our most recent meeting, which occurred on September 15th, 2016. We began with a presentation from the most noble David Wright of the Gary Public Transportation Corporation, talking about some alignment alternatives that they're excited about on their proposed Broadway rapid service. I think also one of the policy matters they're grappling with is not the efficacy of that system, but naming it. He shared a number of names that they're grappling with as well. And they did an interesting thing where they asked writers and people of the public to give them ideas, and so they've got a lot of wonderful ones there. We thank you for that presentation, Mr. Wright. Also, we heard from Mr. Evers of our staff about what they describe internally as the B-list project solicitation. As I understand this, there is a fairly strict now use it or lose it rule that the state of Indiana has posed with regard to its funding for projects related to transportation. And they actually use a 12-month window rather than a 12-month window in order to get these filed. As you know, we're going through the rigorous process ordinarily of reviewing these kinds of projects to get in, but the B-list is in case the money's available. Roughly for Lake and Porter counties, there's approximately 1.2 million. I'm looking for Steve I'm about right on that. It's about 1.2 million. And a little over $230,000 that's available for LaPorte County, I believe. That's about right. So this would be to decide the allocation for these, and the process requires a request for solicitations. We would have acted at our most recent meeting on that, except at the 11th hour, we received some substantial comments from one of the stakeholders that comes from one of the engineers that often does work for clients related to these funds, that the staff did not have a chance to review and either incorporate or dismiss. So before that can be done, and because we want to make this timetable to make sure that these can be in the project line. Mind you, maybe no one will get this money, but we would like to be able to not let anything be left on the table if possible. Rather than have the Technical Planning Committee have to reconvene itself, the committee acted to authorize an ad hoc committee to act in its stead. So delegated for the specific purpose of authorizing for review and recommendation to the full board of NERC, the actual solicitation document. That meeting is to be announced as soon as we can get coordination with the relevant staff. And it essentially is ad hoc, so only members of the Transportation Planning Committee can be there. Some of the people here that are from the TPC will be on that. As soon as we know the date, we'll generally invite people to do that, but those formally will need to be reviewed and appointed by the chair of NERC pursuant to our rules. Also, we did take steps, and I do believe that this will help us understand a little bit about, as we're rolling out, sort of understanding and implementing our new architecture committee-wise. We received reports relative to projects that were underway with regard to the Port of Indiana Burns Harbor Bridge project. NDOT is assisting with moving forward a second bridge to be constructed as a solution to, one, the fact is if the bridge would ever be under repair or go out, there would be no more land-based access to the port. That's a problem. But secondly, it's also about congestion mitigation. So because one of the tasks of TPC is also to make sure that the 2040 plan is reviewed in terms of compliance or alignment with projects that are ongoing. We heard a report from staff about its analysis regarding the congestion management analysis, which we found favorable. The reports and the data from staff told us from the science of planning that it satisfied the metrics of our comprehensive plan. And we found that to be the case and forwarded for recommendation to the full commission. And secondly, they also did the environmental justice analysis. And actually, my favorite phrase in the concluding statement of the data analysis was, the impacts were so minimal it was impossible for our model to measure it. That's encouraging to hear. So we also found and approved that finding by staff and would forward that then to the full commission for its final action. We also received reports from the topical committees, which are actually the places where what used to be the Transportation Planning Committee, it's sort of now has been divided into a lot of topical committees, where I think a lot of the heavy lifting goes on, but as we're learning our system, that remains to be seen. We did get their reports. And then finally, just for those who are interested, we'll be meeting again as a committee on October 11th at 9 a.m. in the Lake Michigan room at NERC. Mr. President and my colleagues, I thank you for letting me present the report. And I thank the staff for the bullet points.
Mr. Griffin, I have names that have been submitted to me for the ad hoc committee. Would it be in order for me to make those appointments at this time, pending any other additions?
That's absolutely the prerogative of the chair.
I therefore appoint the following people to the ad hoc committee so we can move this process down the line. Mr. George Topel, Mr. Dave Schaefer, Mr. Michael Griffin, Mr. Mark Odell, and Mr. David Wright.
I thank the chair. I thank the chair.
NDOT representative. Any comments? I don't see Mr. Powers, so we will.
No, there is.
Oh, please.
Unless you want to add. Yeah.
This is your time on the.
Sorry, I didn't expect Mr. Powers not to be here, so I'm not sure what delayed him. I'm not really prepared to give a report. As you can see, a lot of our barrels are still out. Construction is still ongoing on 94 and 65. The Lake County project for the added travel lanes is under procurement and review at this time. We expect to have a selection here sometime this month. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for volunteering to make that spontaneous report. We appreciate that, and we thank you for the progress that's been made on Route 49, and it was done by Labor Day.
Yes.
Thank you. Other business? Announcements? Yes, sir. Mr. Carney.
I would like us to remember the Dean White family in the death of the person that owned this building. Dean White is the only billionaire in our area, and many communities across the state of Indiana has benefited from his generosity. So let's all remember his family.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Public comment is next, and we have Mr. Robert Buggs from the city of Gary, please. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Todd, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Robert Buggs. I'm the president of the Gary Public Library, and I'm here this morning. I actually came out to see Mr. Powers. Mr. Nowaki said that he had been mentioning about a problem that we have at the library with the waters accumulating on the corner. And the new library is set to open probably sometime later on this fall. And I foresaw a problem of safety, especially some of that water freezes. So since Mr. Powers, excuse me, I'll just read the letter that I have up everybody. It says, to whom it may concern, the Gary Public Library and Cultural Center main branch, Gary, Indiana, has encountered some water issues as the Indiana Department of Transportation installed new sidewalks. Initially, when they installed the sidewalks, they were about 4 inches above the sidewalk, which caused the water to run back toward the library. However, I spoke to Mr. Powers, and they came back and corrected that. They took that down, and they took the grass area out and put bricks in. Well, that too is sort of slanted toward the library, creating sort of like a valley. So when it rains, the water just pools, just sit there on the corner. Also, on the northeast side where the bus stops, I took pictures, which is even where the person had to walk the water to get off the bus, to get on the bus. And the letter goes on to say, we were requesting that the Indiana Department of Transportation revisit these issues as it poses to be a potential hazardous condition during inclement weather in the winter months and compromise access to the bus stop due to standing water on the northeast corner of the sidewalk. Weeks after rain, I have some photos in here. We would greatly appreciate any assistance from NERSC or the Indiana Department of Transportation to alleviate these problems. We anticipate the grand opening of the newly renovated Library of Cultural Center to be fall of 2016. Thank you in advance for your assistance. Robert Buggs, President of the Gary Public Library Board of Trustees. So that's why I'm here this morning, and I was hoping to speak to Mr. Powers and see if you all could give us any assistance in that area. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome, sir, and I believe Lindsay?
We have been working on the issue. I know we've been also working with the city of Gary to get this part of their sewer system videotaped. I don't have an update on that, if that's occurred yet or not. I know we have taken some survey shots and we're working with the city of Gary to get a solution, possibly another inlet or something along these lines.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Buggs, thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I'm sure that it will be carried to NDOT accordingly.
So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? I have none listed, so I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Second. And a motion and a second. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 o'clock. Perfect.